The following program contains adult content and sexual themes. Viewer discretion is advised. And it contains murder. Lots and lots of murder.
You stinking bastard.
People tell me, hey, you're gonna go die and go to hell. At least I'm not alone.
Time for 911, where's your emergency?
Oh, this is Sandy. For 31 Rock, Black Plymouth Road.
What's the
Send the
problem?
police. Send the police.
Hey guys, don't be a hero, mate. And I said, I'm not trying to be a hero, but the police are coming.
One in the chest, one in the head. Fired by Detective Sergeant Roger Rogerson.
I was branching out. That's when the cannibalism started, eating of the heart and the arm muscle.
I would have nailed Carl Williams' hands to a coffee table and just pulled it out of his backside. Carl Williams is a wobbly bottomed little cherub-faced little boy whose life would be.
I'd harm someone each time I'd kill someone. There'd be an enormous amount, especially at first, enormous amount of horror, guilt, remorse afterwards. But then that impulse to do it again would come back even stronger.
And welcome to another episode of Bloody Murder. I'm Barney Black.
And I'm Tara Saraban.
We're going to talk about some true crime.
We have a lot of murders.
And
we're ready to tell everyone about our murders.
We are.
What have you been up to this week?
Well, you know, this and that. I finally got the Christmas tree down. I'm pretty happy with that.
Were you proud?
Pretty happy. Now I'm thinking, you know, I'm only going to have to put it back up in like 8 months' time.
Kind of surprised you didn't just put something over it and leave it there.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you didn't think of that, did you?
I didn't think of that. Maybe I could just put Easter eggs on it. It could be an Easter tree.
Yeah, that could work.
So I am going to talk about a very horrible child murder. That doesn't sound like fun, does it?
No.
I think it's an important case, though, and it's the way they got the bastard. I think it's great. So yeah.
Okay, well, it is good that they got the bloody bastard.
That's right. And
Stinking bastard.
And what have you got for us?
I have a guy who was nicknamed the Boozing Barber.
All right.
He's Canadian. He was doing bad shit in the 80s. And yeah, he killed people with alcohol, which is something that we haven't seen before.
Wow. All right, well, let's hear about that.
Alrighty. So this is Gilbert Paul Jordan. He committed these so-called alcohol murders in Vancouver, Canada in the 1980s. So because he killed people who were often alcoholics using alcohol, a lot of the deaths were thought to be accidental. So he was able to get away with this for a long time. So he was born on the 12th of December in 31, and he was born Gilbert Paul Elsie, but he changed his name to Gilbert Paul Jordan in 1965.
What's wrong with Elsie?
Well, it's kind of a girl's name.
My brother had a cat called Elsie. It's a very nice cat.
Yeah, cats don't do well on our show. Did this one do okay? We've mentioned a lot of
it's not
bad
alive
things.
anymore, but it had a long and full life. It did dribble a lot towards the end, but I think that's what cats do.
Okay. It's kind of a positive story. Oh, yeah, we're not doing any stories about animals being killed today.
No.
So, you know, sorry.
Yeah.
You have to get your fix somewhere else. Okay, so Gilbert Paul Elsie, his mother was a sales clerk and a devout Methodist who wouldn't allow alcohol in the house. And his father was a banker. He had an older brother. Their parents split up when they were young, and he lived with their father. Well, they both lived with their father, who remarried and had another son. So neither of his brothers has reported addiction issues or a criminal record. Jordan's brother said he wasn't aware of any abuse or traumatic incidences in their upbringing to explain Jordan's future behaviour. He said, "The guy's a mystery to me. He always has been, even when we were kids." He didn't think Jordan was ever normal, and the two never got along. It's not normal.
He was broken, maybe. He was born broken.
Yeah, well, he's not a very nice guy. His classmates say he was withdrawn and antisocial. He was short and stocky, which earned him the nickname Chubbs and Chubby.
Sweet. Fat shaming.
Fat shaming back in the early days. The glory days of fat shaming. That's something that always struck me is how kids love to bully people, but how unimaginative they are about it. That pained me. I would have liked some more imaginative insults hurled my way when I was growing up. I would have appreciated that.
Were you a little tubby when you were?
You know I was.
I have seen it.
I'm really tall, and sometimes really tall people are a bit chubby before their height kicks in. So, you know, it happens.
Sure.
Oh, you said that like you don't believe me. I'm gonna go eat a cake and puke it up again in your honour. He was an alcoholic from his mid-teens, which would have affected how his brain developed and caused permanent damage. Heavy alcohol use when the brain is growing reduces a person's problem-making abilities. No, it doesn't.
Problem-making? I think it increases their problem-making.
It definitely increases my problem-making abilities. Apparently, it increases their problem-solving abilities, attention span, and memory. Yes, I have known some alcoholics before who didn't have great problem-solving skills. Very good problem-making skills, though. Yeah, so it does increase that. There is a plus here. He drank over 50 ounces of vodka a day. So that's 1,420 mils, which is almost 2 of the 750 ml bottles of vodka.
Yeah, right.
So he actually bought his vodka from a bootlegger to keep his costs down because it's not cheap.
Smart.
Yeah, he is pretty smart. It didn't the alcohol didn't destroy the part of his brain that understood maths and alcoholism.
Some money, vodka. Don't have enough money.
Vodka?
Buy cheaper vodka.
Hey. Maybe I need a bootlegger. Although I did find a place down Nicholson Street that sells bottles of vodka for like $20. And I got to tell you, I got one and it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad?
Wasn't that
Have
bad
you got
at
your
all.
eyesight back yet, though?
I don't need it back because all of my other senses have really come alive since then.
Really?
Yeah, I'm quite enjoying it.
Really?
I mean, I don't have to look at your face.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Stop trying to implant my brain with that. Okay, so he dropped out of school in 8th grade to focus on his criminal career. In 1949, when he was 18, he got a 1-year sentence for car theft. Beginner stuff. In 52, he was arrested for rape, indecent assault, abduction, hit and run, and drunk driving. 1952 was a big year for old Gilbert. In 61, he abducted and sexually assaulted a 5-year-old Indigenous girl. God, that's going a bit far. He was charged for this, but he was acquitted. This guy is the slipperiest fucker you will ever encounter. He gets acquitted of almost everything. It's like he's so covered in alcohol, he can just slide out of stuff. Don't know why that hasn't worked for me yet. A few months later, extremely drunk, he held up peak hour traffic while attempting to jump off the Lionsgate Bridge. Unfortunately, for many people, he did not succeed. Yeah, I often think about that. If murderers just started with suicide, that wouldn't be a problem.
No.
That was probably a trigger warning. But this whole show is a trigger warning.
Really, it is.
Yeah, T-dubs all over town. Okay, what else did he do? On March the 3rd, 1962, he picked up 2 women from downtown East Side and took them to Cole Harbour where they drank vodka. Sounds pretty civilised so far.
Yeah, well, that's his jam, really, isn't it?
Yeah, vodka on everything. Vodka goes with everything. The other white drink. One of the women felt ill and stepped out of the car, and Jordan drove off with her friend, took her to a secluded location, and raped her. Nice one. In court for this, Jordan addressed the magistrate with a Sieg Heil Nazi salute and was found in contempt of court and sentenced to 6 months in jail.
But not for the rape.
He was acquitted of the rape charge, but sentenced to 2 years for 2 counts of theft, with the judge attributing his actions to drinking. But he appealed that and he won. So he was sentenced to nothing. Yeah. Oh, this guy is so slippery. He's like an electric eel, a drunk electric eel. So despite his alcoholism, when not in prison, Jordan worked a series of jobs as a barber, window dresser, auto wrecker, and also worked at lumber yards and on tugboats. He inherited $70,000 from his grandfather and invested it wisely in the stock market. Parts of his brain are functioning fine.
Right.
So he had money to buy booze,
Probably
pay for
vodka
company.
shares.
Vodka shares. Yeah, and then he drank all the vodka and that's what made them worth money. So anyway, he had money. He could afford decent lawyers, obviously, and he could pay people to hang out with him and drink with him. Jordan blamed all of his convictions on alcohol, saying, "I'm not a criminal, but I've got a terrible record because of booze." Which is kind of how I feel. I'm not an idiot, but I have a terrible record because of booze. Yeah, I have certainly never done anything too bad when I was drunk. I will say the wrong shit and sometimes make out with the wrong people. So maybe if I were to just gaffer tape my mouth when I'm drunk,
I've seen some of your drunken cooking exploits.
Oh, actually, I still have a scar on my wrist from Christmas.
And you sweat sauce all over the kitchen and stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's like a crime scene. Not just the kitchen, but myself.
Yeah.
What about you? What have you done?
Oh, well, not really. I'm not a big drinker, as you know. But,
Good one.
I threw up on a policeman once. But I was only like 15, so...
Was this something to do with a high school disco?
Something like that. And I've been drinking ouzo, and he said, "Have you been drinking?" And I said, "No, officer, I've been just eating a lot of licorice."
And then you peeked on him.
And then I got locked up.
You got locked up when you were 15?
Yeah.
How long for?
Overnight.
Were your folks mad?
Oh, God, I was so in the shit.
Yeah. Do you remember what happened?
It was that like, "Look, I'm not angry with you.
I'm just really disappointed."
Exactly. I think they were going to drop me off at the orphanage, like taking donations kind of thing.
Wow. You're not my son anymore.
Something like that.
You can't hold your liquor. You're no son of mine.
That's right.
Yeah, they weren't mad that you were drunk. They were just mad that you're an idiot, right?
I can't drink ouzo to this day because of that.
I never had an issue with ouzo, but I find it repulsive. So,
it kind of is, yeah.
Yeah. It's like black jelly beans. Alcoholic black jelly beans. Bad idea.
Yeah, bad idea.
Anyway, let's do some blood alcohol level 101.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I got some lessons in alcohol. Not the kind we're used to. So between 0.2% and 0.29%, you get a loss of understanding and impaired sensations, which is why when I cook drunk, it's a bad idea. And I can wake up with burns and a kitchen covered in sauce. From 0.3 to 0.39%, there's a loss of consciousness usually. And 0.4% upwards, alcohol poisoning and possibly death. Amy Winehouse died with a blood alcohol level of 0.41.
Ouch. Poor Amy.
I know. And I reckon her dad probably did it, now that I know it's possible. So a major complication of alcohol poisoning is respiratory depression. Or maybe Blake did it. Blake! Resulting in a lack of oxygen to the brain. The heartbeat is weakened and blood pressure lowers. Autopsy results in alcohol poisoning cases always find a swollen brain and heavy lungs. The lungs become filled with fluid and blood as the body isn't circulating these things properly. So also if people are taking other drugs as well, it really exacerbates the whole process. So Jordan would hang out in bars in the downtown east side of Vancouver, British Columbia, known as the Skid, and he would pay for women's drinks. He'd then entice them to go elsewhere with him with the promise of more alcohol or money. Sometimes he paid people to drink with him.
"Hey girl, would you like another vodka?"
Do you think he sounded like that?
Maybe.
What's that about?
What's that about?
Yeah, he was Canadian.
Is that a Canadian thing?
What's that all about? No. Okay, so he sometimes paid sex workers to have sex with him because apparently he wasn't just addicted to vodka, he was also addicted to drunk sex. And he claims to have had sex with at least 200 women a year from the years of 1980 to 1988. So he's pretty busy.
It is busy.
This is a quote from him, and I can't do a Canadian accent. Or sound like a grizzly alcoholic man. Maybe you should do it. Kidding. I'm so funny and friendless now. Sober people wouldn't go out with me, so I was left without any other option. I didn't want to drink in a room or by myself. Well, where's the fun in that, I suppose, if you're a boozing barber? The downtown east side was a low-income area, inhabited by sex workers, homeless people, and drug addicts. A lot of criminal activity took place there, and this was where Jordan would seek out his prey. Being criminal sex workers or addicts, they were less likely to report crimes to the police, and the police were less likely to investigate claims made by them, because there's disposable people in the police's eyes sometimes. Most of his victims were Indigenous sex workers. The skid had a very high percentage of Indigenous people in the 1980s, and there was a massive alcohol and drug problem in the area. Many poor alcoholics would drink a cocktail of cheap aftershave, often aqua velva, and rice wine, usually used for cooking. I don't know what aqua velva smells like, but I'm thinking it's like, I don't know, Brut 33 maybe?
Like when I'm really, really poor and I want to drink, you know, like it'll be some bad wine or something, like cask wine or something, and that's pretty bad, but...
I've never seen you buy a cask.
Yeah.
Where were you going with that? Were you going to say...
Oh, I'm just saying, drinking aftershave and rice wine.
Yeah.
That's
it's kind of down to huffing level, really, isn't it?
It really is.
So, yeah, there's a lot of desperate people in the area. The police used to call the last Wednesday of every month Welfare Wednesday, and it would be the start of the busiest 3 days of the month for police, the fire department, ambulances, and emergency rooms. So this area sounds like Deadwood on angel dust.
Yeah, we call you know what we call that here? Friday.
Friday. It's a Friday now, actually. Better batten down the hatches. So cashed up on pension day, the residents indulged their addictions and primal chaos reigned. After the money ran out, everyone would have to find a way to survive until the next payday and often turn to crime to do so. So this was a perfect hunting ground for Jordan. Desperate people willing to do anything to feed their addictions and a high crime area where his evil deeds wouldn't stand out.
You never really get a serial killer that's going to find people that are his age and his size and...
Oh, right. They don't really play fair, do they?
They never play fair. It's always vulnerable people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cowards.
Yeah, well, of course they are. But I guess it's just easier for them. It's people that, especially if you want to be a serial killer, you can't
Path of least resistance kind of thing, yeah.
Absolutely. If you're arrested after one or even two, you're not a serial killer.
Oh.
So I guess it comes with the territory. It's believed he started killing at the age of 34. That's a good age to start
It's
a
a
trade.
bit of a late bloomer, really.
Well, you know, he was warming up to it by the sounds of things. It's pretty rapey. So Jordan would encourage women he was drinking with to drink more and more heavily. And when they got so drunk that they passed out, he'd pour more vodka down their throats, like some kind of unconscious alcoholic waterboarding.
Ugh.
He'd then sexually assault them as they died. Yeah, see, when I drink, I want to just have conversations and jump around and be happy. I don't feel like killing people.
No.
And I drink vodka, so that's not it.
Wow, yeah.
I
don't think you could ever do it. You'd be up and down going, I need more ice in this.
Yeah. I would be.
Let's make some margaritas.
Yeah. Let me break your blender by making an ice drink in it and also including a spoon.
That's right. A teaspoon in a blender pretty much fucks it.
I didn't know the teaspoon was in there.
It did sound a bit clangy.
That's just what it sounds like. It was just, it was a spoon. That's why it sounded
It's all right. I forgive you. It's fine.
Yeah, it did break the blender. So Jordan would encourage the women. We know that. He'd sexually assault them. All of his victims were alcoholics, drug addicts, or sex workers, and sometimes all three. And all of them died of alcohol poisoning. And many of the women that he murdered's death were deemed accidental because they're already alcoholics who died of alcohol poisoning. It's kind of like nothing to see here.
Yeah, wow. It's almost a perfect crime, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd really just never thought about it as a possibility. And now I know. I reckon I might work with it.
Please don't.
No, I'm not going to.
I'm not letting you make me a drink anymore.
What, are you going to actually make your own drink? That doesn't sound like you.
Yeah, no, there's one small problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm lazy.
On January 17th, 1965, Jordan rented a cheap hotel room, and English-born switch operator Ivy Rose Oswald joined him as his drinking partner. Ivy's naked body was found dead in the room the next day. The autopsy report showed that she had a blood alcohol level of 0.51%, which is 0.115% higher than the usual death alcohol level.
Right.
It's like if you're drinking more than that. You can't drink more than that because after around 0.4%, you pass out.
Yeah.
So 22 years later, Jordan actually confessed to a murder, but he was never charged because he's a slippery sucker. He's an alcoholic eel. He changed his surname 4 days after her death. Might have been linked. In the 1970s, he was charged with lewd acts in a public place and indecent exposure, but of course he wasn't convicted because he doesn't get convicted. In 1974, he was sent to prison for 2 years for indecent sexual assault, finally. The Crown petitioned to have Jordan declared a dangerous sexual offender, but his attorney blocked it, and he was paroled after a year because of reasons. Reasons that I can't imagine. Because of no reasons.
Prison system's full. I don't know.
In 1975, he kidnapped a mentally impaired woman from a mental institution and raped her. So that's just so many levels of not okay. He received a 26-month sentence. In 1976, psychiatrist Dr. Tibor Bezaradi was appointed by the criminal court to interview Jordan as part of his court proceedings. He diagnosed him as having an antisocial personality disorder. His definition was a person whose conduct is maladjusted in terms of social behaviour, disregard for the rights of others, which often results in unlawful activities. So he had no empathy at all. After he was released from prison, Jordan opened up a barber shop near the downtown East Side, which is his favourite area.
What was it called?
I don't know what it was called. I actually read a book about this. I really looked into it, and no one knew what it was called. I'm hoping it was called Barber Streisand.
How about, let's jam on this, The Grateful Head.
The Grateful Head.
A breath of fresh hair?
Hair Force One.
Oh, nice. Oh, no, I've got it. Hair of the dog.
Ah, that's appropriate. What about drinky, killy, rapey? No one would go in there.
In the Cut.
In the Cut.
Do you remember that movie, In the Cut?
I do. It's a Jane Campion movie.
Yes,
Meg
with
Ryan
Meg
was
Ryan.
in. Yes.
And I told you that it was actually originally titled In the Cunt.
Yeah, it's from a book called In the Cut as well that I'd read. And yes, you told me that it was originally called In the Cunt, and I told you to fuck off, and I didn't believe you.
Yeah, and it's true.
Yeah, but it sounds like bullshit.
In the Cunt is meant to mean that you're safe. Okay, it's okay, fellas, I'm in the cunt.
I'm safe here in the cunt.
Apparently.
That's not a saying
it's true.
That's really taken
You can look this up.
Well, yeah, I know it's true because I did look it up. But why would I believe you? You're renowned for telling people bullshit things. Like, I remember you trying to convince everyone at a party a million years ago that Whoopi Goldberg had married Gerard Depardieu and now her name was Whoopi Depardieu.
That was Dave, actually.
That was Dave with the spider in his mouth.
But I nearly had you with wormus. I said it was Latin worm, comes from the Latin wormus, which means ground sausage.
I love that you cling to this moment. I just had a really bad fight with my boyfriend and I was actually crying at the time and I nodded and you take this as a win. I was crying and I just...
ground sausage, come on.
Oh my God, I can't believe you talk about that as though it's a victory. What else have you tried to do? You tried to tell everyone that that Angelina Jolie smoked Marlboro Lights because you were smoking Marlboro Lights and you wanted to seem cool. I remember that one.
Yeah, that was good. People did believe that.
Oh my God. I've told everyone never to believe
What about Ron Perlman and Tom Waits are cousins?
Yeah. You also said that John Carpenter and I think her name's Jennifer Carpenter, who plays Dexter's sister in the show Dexter, that she was his daughter. I remember you told me that and I'm like, no, she isn't.
That was told to me by somebody else who was bullshitting me, so that's one I fell for, actually.
I can't believe that someone who bullshits as much as you falls for other people's bullshit.
I know. I'm gullible. What can I say?
You're gullible and you like to surround yourself with gullible people.
So anyway, this guy's barbershop was called Hair of the Dog.
Yeah,
he liked to drink.
It was called Hair of the Dog. Good way to bring it all back there.
Yeah, nice segue.
So Jordan often had women join him at Hair of the Dog to drink, and a nearby business owner said the shop was closed more than it was open. Women in his company kept on dying of alcohol poisoning. In November 1980, Mary Johnson died at the Alamur Hotel with a blood alcohol level of 0.34%, kind of a low one for him. In September in 81, Barbara Paul died at the Glenard Hotel with a blood alcohol level of 0.41%. Mary Johns was the first of 3 alcoholic Indigenous sex workers to die at his barber shop in July 82. Her blood alcohol level was 0.76%. In December 84, Patricia Thomas also died in his barber shop with a level of 0.51%. And in June 85, Patricia Andrew died in his barber's shop and the level of 0.79%.
But they came out looking fabulous.
Their hair was amazing, but they were very dead. All three of the women who died at the barber shop were deemed accidental deaths, and Jordan was never charged over them. 3 of them. Ah.
Imagine getting a shave there, at that barber shop with his hands shaking because of
Oh,
the DTs,
yeah. And just having to step over the dead sex workers
him
to
having
get to the chair.
scissors near your eyes and things. Yeah.
So even though it's not physically possible to drink yourself to a blood alcohol level of over 0.79% or over 0.4%, he still wasn't charged. It's believed that police may not have checked his record when he reported the deaths, because he had to call them in as well, like, yeah, I got another one. And they're like, what's that all about? And he's just like, I don't know. Do you want a haircut? I know, I had to.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so he got away with all of those murders scot-free. Ching ching, have another drink. In October 87, 27-year-old Vanessa Lee Buckner checked into the Niagara Hotel with Jordan after they'd spent time earlier in the day drinking heavily. Vanessa was a depressed drug addict who'd recently had her newborn baby taken away by social services because it was born with drugs in its system. Vanessa and Jordan drank a bottle of vodka and most of a bottle of rum, so he wasn't even drunk. In the early morning, Jordan left. Later, he phoned the Vancouver Police Department to report her death. He did not leave his name, but police...
Oh, it's happened again.
Oh, whoops. Sorry,
He's
guys.
happened again, eh?
You know what this is about, right? So they traced a call back to his room in the Marble Arch Hotel where he'd been living for over a year. Police found Vanessa's naked body in the hotel room. She was not known to be a heavy drinker, but her blood alcohol level was a staggering 0.91%. That is 3 times spring break level.
That's
a lot. Jordan was questioned by police about Vanessa's death, but surprise, surprise, he wasn't charged.
Of course not.
It's a coincidence, I suppose. On the 12th of the 10th, 87, the police put him under surveillance. The surveillance team watched Jordan search out Indigenous women in the Skid Row area of Vancouver and followed him to bars and hotels. They also intervened and rescued 4 women he was drinking heavily with who may have been potential victims. Just barge in there and grab them out.
Good idea.
The surveillance teams also overheard him egging a woman on to drink heavily and offering her money to do so. Unfortunately, there isn't actually recording of this. And I was going to read it out myself, but I thought, where's the fun in that? So I got our friend Nick to read it out for us.
So, yes, he's
it's a
voice actor.
reenactment.
It's a reenactment.
Yeah, he's the guy who does the our opening sort of like warning thing about the show containing murder.
All right, let's hear it.
All right.
Have a drink. Down the hatch, baby. $20 if you drink it right down. See if you're a real woman. Finish that drink. Finish that drink. Down the hatch. Hurry. Right down. You need another drink. I'll give you $50 if you can take it. I'll give you $10, $20, $50, whatever you want. Come on, I want to see you get it all down. You get it right down. I'll give you the $50 and the $13. I'll give you $50. Told you that. If you finish that, I'll give you $75. Finish your drink. I'll give you $20.
Thanks for that, Nick.
Yeah, as an auction, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that gives you some idea of how he was like.
I've been at parties like that before.
Yeah, but you were the one trying to make people drink, right?
Sure.
Okay, so the surveillance ended on the 26th of November in 87. 3 days later, Edna Shade's naked body was found dead at the Glen Air Hotel with a blood alcohol level of 0.71%. And of course, she'd been with Jordan just prior to her death. The police found his fingerprints on glasses and a vodka bottle in the room, but they didn't charge him for her death because why would they? He was, however, charged with the first-degree murder of Vanessa Lee Buckner. At the trial in 1988, Jordan said he'd provided her with alcohol, but she was still alive when he left. Unable to prove Jordan's intent to kill, he was convicted of manslaughter, and the judge described him as a predator who uses alcohol as his deadly instrument of death.
That's not what alcohol's for.
Not
that
a
makes
deadly
me mad.
instrument of death?
No.
Oh, you couldn't stay mad at alcohol.
No.
Oh, vodka, I can't stay mad at you. At the trial in 1988, Jordan said he'd provided her with alcohol, but I've already said this bit. Deadly instrument of death. He received a 15-year sentence, which was reduced to 9 years on appeal. He was released after just 6 years because he had a very good lawyer. The judge in his appeal seemed convinced that Jordan didn't realise playing drinking games with these women had led to their deaths. And despite Jordan showing no remorse, the judge seemed to think he had learned his lesson based on nothing.
So all these women have died
Yeah.
from alcohol poisoning.
In
And he's
the
called it
company.
in.
He's called in a lot of them.
Ah, wow.
But, oh, come on. Come on. You stop playing drinking games with girls.
So he spent 6 years in jail for this.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
That's it. Like for the murders. Yeah, that's it. Slippery fucking sucker.
Is there more?
A tiny bit. So Jordan's conditions of probation were that he stay on Vancouver Island, refrain from any licensed establishments in that area where he'd been drinking, and not be in the company of women anywhere that alcohol is being consumed. But of course he breached these conditions often and only very occasionally got pulled up on it. The police did issue a warning with a description of him, sort of basically telling women, like, don't drink with this guy because he'll probably kill you with vodka. Despite knowingly causing the deaths of at least 10 women, he was never charged with murder, and he never explained why he did it. He never gave any indication. You'd think if he didn't want to drink alone, he'd be better off not killing people.
Well, that's right.
Also, if you want to, assault them and they're already passed out drunk, I don't really get the point. I mean, I don't really. It's not like I sit around getting the point of all the murders. But yeah, it seems particularly pointless. I don't know. But, it's murder. There's not a lot of point to it. So he died of cirrhosis, of course, on the 7th of July in 2007 at the age of 76. He kind of made it a long way for an alcoholic chain smoker.
That is, it lived quite a long time.
Yeah, 76.
Wow.
Well, it's not like he had to deal with prison food very often, is it?
No.
So yeah, that's the boozing barber.
Wow,
And those are
what a story.
The so-called alcohol murders.
Well, that's not what alcohol's for, as we all know.
It wasn't alcohol's fault. It was his fault.
Mine's a bit darker, my story.
A bit darker than my happy story of dying.
Well, I don't think there's going to be many laughs in this one. I'm sorry.
Are you doing more murdered children?
I am.
Oh, I know how much you hate it. It must just be the thing that irks you.
Well, it's just, yeah.
I keep doing rapey people.
Yeah.
They irk the shit out of me.
Yeah, strange. In late March 2015, a man walking along a newly resurfaced Karoonda Highway in Wanaka finds an old tattered suitcase. That's how it opens. What do you think so far?
I think the suitcase is full of money, and he goes on holiday in Hawaii. And he has lots of fun, and he makes lots of friends.
Well, let me tell you where Wanaka is. It's in South Australia's Murray Mallee.
And it's near Adelaide?
Yeah, it's 120 kilometres southeast of Adelaide.
I could have told you it'd be near Adelaide. Go to Adelaide, you'll never leave because you got murdered.
That's right. The suitcase lay open, item of clothing scattered nearby, close to the road and near the low bushes that dotted the desert landscape. Intrigued, he dragged it over the red sand to the road shoulder to look inside. Seeing that it only contained a small amount of children's clothing, he left it there and moved on. Over the coming weeks and months, many others saw the suitcase, and some even looked through it, totally unaware of what horror was hidden beneath.
Yeah. Oh.
Eventually, on 15th of July, another man noticed the suitcase, and on further inspection, much to his horror, he sees a tiny but unmistakable human jawbone poking through the clothing.
I don't know if I'd be able to recognise a tiny human jawbone.
I think the teeth.
Oh, okay, teeth's different.
Oh. It's awful. Stuffed inside the 40-centimetre wide dark grey Lanza brand suitcase, in between a Dora the Explorer t-shirt, pink pants with teddy bears on them, was the skeletal remains of a child who police say died a violent and terrible death. That a small child could vanish without anyone noticing has mystified the detectives, who say the child could have been dead a very, very long time.
This is crazy. I remember when this is recent, isn't it?
Yeah, this is 2015. Police investigators said witnesses had reported seeing a man with an identical suitcase. The man, a clean-cut Caucasian, aged about 60. Locals say he isn't one of theirs. Fewer than 200 people live in the town, so anyone unfamiliar stands out.
Oh, he's not one of ours, eh? Not one of
Yeah.
ours. I don't know that I'd remember what kind of suitcase a stranger was carrying. Maybe I would now.
You got to remember, this is pretty rural, so seeing someone walking along the road with a suitcase
You're
kind
not
of
from
stands
around
out.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
One local said it was frightening to think someone dangerous enough to kill a small child had been in the town. Even if it was just to dump a body, I mean. What if they were disturbed? It's such a terrible thing to happen to anyone. But a small child, who would do that?
Wow,
the community
you're
was
gonna tell us.
was small and close, with many having lived there their whole lives, she said. Police released images of the clothing, so they hope that someone will recognise and provide a much-needed breakthrough. A 15-strong task force is formed, and they begin investigating. On October 8th, police catch a break when a call to Crime Stoppers nominated Candace Pierce as possibly the little girl in the suitcase. After more than 1,200 calls, one caller was able to identify the quilt as one made by the child's grandmother.
Oh.
Investigators then located a witness who would see Candace and her mother at Marion's Shopping Centre in Adelaide in November 2008. She had taken photos of Candace wearing a pink dress, the same pink dress that was found in the remains in the suitcase.
Oh, wow.
Positive identification was achieved by comparing DNA extracted from the child's skeletal remains with DNA retained from a neonatal heel prick test.
Wow, that's nifty.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Science the shit out of it.
They really did. Candace Kira Pierce's body had lain discarded inside the suitcase on the side of the rural highway for almost 7 years before it was found.
7 years? Jeez.
A national DNA search then linked the child remains with the profile of her mother. The previously unidentified remains that were found in the
Belangolo
State Forest. Thank you.
That place is cursed.
No, it really is. Belangolo is notorious as a former stomping ground of serial killer Ivan Milat, who was convicted over the 1996 murders of 7 young backpackers.
He certainly was.
Police-
And I'm still not convinced he acted alone, but
Well, yeah.
maybe we'll talk about that some other day.
No, I agree. Police initially suspected Milat, but after forensic examination determined that the timeline was out. Both Candace and Carly were reported missing in the Northern Territory on September 4th, 2009 by Carly's mother, but police said the report was later withdrawn.
Why would... Oh, okay. I know you're going to tell me. I know you'll tell me.
More on that later.
Yeah, all right.
Carly was a single mother and had moved away from her family with Candace between 2006 and 2008, intending to travel and work. She was last seen driving a car with Candace on the Sturt Highway near Cooper Pedy on November 8th, 2008. Police said Carly was aged 20 at the time, while Candace was aged 2.
Out near Cooper Pedy, that's a kind of scary place.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to go driving out there.
New South Wales Homicide Commander Mick Willing said Carly's mother withdrew her missing persons report on September 10, 2009 after she was reassured that Carly was safe and well, but did not want family contact at that time.
Oh, so they had a tumultuous relationship, maybe.
And she got some texts saying
when
she was
Carly
all right.
didn't want to see her, she thought it was a real thing. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
South Australian policeman Des Bray said both mother and daughter suffered violent deaths, and a joint operation with New South Wales Police was focused on finding the person or persons responsible. This is one of the most shocking crimes, shocking and unimaginable. Another family has been torn apart and devastated, he said. Those people that are responsible for this crime are truly evil and must be quickly caught and held to account for what they've done. Hear.
Quickly caught.
Yes.
She's been there for 7 years, so quickly caught from that point onward, right?
The family of Carly and Candace said in a statement they were very grateful to police and the community and the media and everyone who had assisted or provided information in this investigation. As you would expect, our family is devastated by the news of the deaths of Carly and Candace and are trying to deal with their grief. We understand that this case has created considerable interest across the country, but at this time we ask that you respect our privacy to allow them to grieve, which is fair enough, I guess. In December 2015, Detective Superintendent Des Bray from South Australian Major Crime said police had a very good understanding of what happened to the mother and child and have now charged Daniel James Hold'em, 41, with the murders.
Hold'em.
Daniel James Hold'em.
All right.
Police said it was fortunate that he was already in custody. They didn't have to chase him down. That enabled us the opportunity to conduct a very thorough and comprehensive investigation. It gave us the opportunity to really do a lot of work and prepare a good brief of evidence. Because it's across 3 states, so there's
that always
jurisdictional
complicates things.
Issues. Candile's family said that the news was welcome because those who loved the toddler wanted the alleged killer called to account for such a despicable crime.
Of course.
Yes.
This is funny like cancer.
It's not funny at all. Carly and Candice's family and friends have had their lives suddenly and horribly disrupted. Nothing has prepared these people for their suffering, he said. Their life will never be the same.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm going to play a couple of clips from the news at that time.
Yeah, please tell me there's puppies in one of them.
There's not.
Yeah, if there was, there'd be like puppy carcasses.
Good evening. Chilling new details have emerged in the double murders of Carly Pearce-Stevenson and her daughter Candice. Detectives uncovering an elaborate scheme of death and deceit spanning 4 years to steal Carly's identity, her cash, and convince her family she was still alive.
Police will be alleging in court that it is our belief that Candice was murdered here in New South Wales shortly after the murder of Carly. As I've previously indicated, this has been a very intense investigation, and at this point I would again like to thank the public and the media for their assistance. We simply could not have been in a position to lay the charges that we have without the assistance of the public, so I thank you. And while there is now a person before the court in relation to 2 of these matters, homicide detectives here in New South Wales will continue to work with our counterparts in South Australia and other jurisdictions. I would, however, like to take this opportunity to again ask anyone who has not spoken to police about these matters to come forward. Finally, I can advise you that Carly and Candice's family were notified of today's events earlier today and have indicated that they welcome the news. Our thoughts remain with them.
Yeah, so Hold'em, a little bit about him. He'd previously been in a relationship with Hazel Passmore, who was left in a wheelchair in 2008 after a car crash in South Australia. Hold'em was driving the car when 2 of her children were killed in the crash.
Oh.
So, this Hazel Passmore, she lost a leg
shit.
because of this. Miss Passmore had been questioned at length by South Australian detectives about identity fraud carried out after Carly and Candice's death.
So she's the one that was pretending to be Carly?
That's right. Police had previously had said that mother and daughter's identity documents were used and they were accessed more than 1,200 times since 2008. More than 90,000 was funneled through Carly's account after her death in the form of Centrelink payments, wages and other sources.
Oh, God, so it's like Snowtown.
She even contacted Carly's mother and got her to lend her some money.
Oh.
Even after she was dead.
That is so Snowtown.
Oh, yeah, and they used her mobile phone to reply to messages.
Oh, so that's why the mother didn't think she was dead.
Yeah, until mid-2011.
Oh, wow, she must feel really fucking pissed.
The 2 bodies, dumped 1,000 kilometres apart, were not initially thought to be connected. However, after the tip-off to Crime Stoppers led to DNA testing, as I said earlier, confirmed they were mother and daughter, and, double murderer.
Wow.
They got him. Hold'em was charged after police traced a phone that allegedly belonged to the 41-year-old through pings off of mobile phone towers in Belanglo State Forest.
Oh, they can do some great stuff with phone tower pings.
They really
so
do.
much good stuff.
Yeah, the pings allegedly put the phone near the location of Carly's remains too.
Right.
In South Australia.
I'm really happy about that.
At about the time of her death. So the toddler was killed 4 or 5 days after the 20-year-old mother Carly was killed in Belanglo State Forest. Yeah, police have alleged Hold'em went with Carly to the isolated location in the New South Wales Southern Highlands and killed her while Candice stayed in Canberra with friends and then,
Oh, at least she wasn't there for
killed
her
her at that
mother's
later
murder.
date. Hold'em is still on trial. They're still trying to get all this evidence together. So this is all allegedly.
Yeah, right. The public really have helped with this case.
Yeah, they really did. And they really... well, I mean, it took a long time for them to find the bodies and put it together, but the police have done it.
But after they found it, they've kind of moved on it pretty quick.
They really did.
Wow. We'll have to do an update when we find out what happened.
Absolutely. Let's see how many years he gets.
I reckon they're going to chuck him away without parole.
Yeah, double life sentence. He might be in one of those categories, never to be released kind of thing.
I would say so.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Who knows? I guess he's no boozing barber, so he probably won't just get a slap on the wrist and get told now, when you kill a wife, it's when you kill a mum and her daughter, it's bad. Wow. All right. Well, hopefully he gets the book thrown at him.
Absolutely. Okay, that's another episode of Bloody Murder in the Can.
I got an Aussie as.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
One
I mean,
more.
much as we like to leave people sad about dead children, I thought just for a change,
I think that's a great idea.
I would probably try and perk it up a little. So, an Australian man trying to stick up a gas station with a boomerang was busted when the weapon failed to come back. Can't get Aussier than that. The 31-year-old allegedly tried to rob the Shell outlet in Tarragindi, south of Brisbane in Queensland on Sunday. He walked in and threatened a worker with the weapon, which is traditionally thrown by Indigenous Australians for hunting. But without the space to properly launch the wooden weapon, which would have returned to him if launched correctly, he was forced to flee empty-handed. Cops were called and officers recognised him as being from the nearby suburb of Maruka. He was found soon after and arrested before being given a notice of public nuisance. The man entered the service station and threatened a man behind the counter with a boomerang, a Queensland police spokesman told BuzzFeed Australia. He was later arrested but was not charged. He added he appeared in court in relation to public nuisance.
That's awesome.
You wouldn't want to charge him. He tries to throw... Also, I can't throw a boomerang, can you?
I've never actually tried.
I've tried heaps. When I was a kid, like someone would have given me one or something. Like we used to try all the time and it never came back. It just kept going. So, I mean, he probably just threw it and it like hit a wall and fell on the ground and then he like ran away without even stealing noodles.
Do you remember that little kid in Mad Max 2 who had the boomerang?
Oh,
had
yeah,
a blade
that little
on it?
feral kid. And it was like
kid?
this razor boomerang and he could like behead people with it.
Yeah, and that punk tried to catch it. And he chopped his fingers off and everyone laughed.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was really cool.
Mad Max 2, pretty good.
Hmm.
Cool. Well, that's another episode of Bloody Murder.
It really is. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes.
Yeah,
that
and
really
check
helps
out
us.
our Facebook page for pictures of all the people involved in the cases that we talk about.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Adios.
Lying that it wasn't on, and they were using sonic pressure on my head since 1997.